I would request Brigadier Arun Sahgal, who is presently in the US, in fact, he's in Washington these days, to tell us something about the relationship of India and the US, how the US think tanks view our relationship, what has been the reception as far as the press goes, as far as the policy makers go, as far as the think tanks go to this. And there are many people who are talking about, the Quad was the first thing that got us closer together. There are whispers that are there that uh, the US wants us to be part of NATO plus. I'm sure Brigadier Sahgal, who's been part of very many think tanks, will highlight some of these issues. May I now request you, sir, for your opening remarks?
Thank you very much, Jagat. It's a pleasure and an honor to join such a distinguished panel, and I'm happy to do so early morning at 8 o'clock. I mean, to get ready at 8 o'clock, we had to get up early morning. So, anyway, we are still suffering from a bit of a jet lag. I am in Washington D.C. and over the last 2 days we had the privilege of meeting the State Department people, our ambassador, and spent a full day with some members of the National Security Council as well as the CSIS staff, which is one of the country's leading think tank, number one think tank in the United States. So the bottom line that is emerging out of here is that it was not a visit which was to be oriented towards the strategic partnership alone. It was a very massive engagement of India in which both the countries have decided to jointly work together at building up strategic, technical, and economic engagement of a scale that has not been seen earlier. It is exemplified by the 6,000 word joint statement. No statement, and it covers just about every sector: technology, defense cooperation, economics, climate change, investments, everything you can think of is being covered over there. So there is a lot of euphoria within the establishment, and including our embassy, which rightfully so, who have handled this visit, such an enormous visit with so many different players taking part in it, in such a manner to achieve what we have managed to achieve. This is the first part. The strategic construct of the visit is being looked upon by India's endorsement of the rule-based international order, and this complete alignment in Indo-Pacific as an inclusive space defined by international law. And India and Prime Minister, in fact, in his statement in the address to the joint houses, Senate joint houses, has outlined the Indian perspective of Indo-Pacific. And in that, he basically says that it should be free from turbulence, it should free from interference, and free from debt-related domination, and it should be peaceful and stable. So this is underlined by the fact is that the fact that both countries have endorsed this order in a manner that the way they have done it, it brings about a convergence of geostrategic interests. But in Washington, the geostrategic convergence is being taken by and large as a given, but the more bigger focus is on economic and technological relationship. Now, this is an important aspect which I want to understand. Along with that, there is a simmering narrative. I will be wrong in not in highlighting it. A simmering narrative of India's track record against minorities and human rights. It is being acknowledged. We heard prior to the visit some noises being made, including a congressional research paper which outlined the human rights record of India. But the fact remains is that this issue has unnecessarily got enlarged by the virtue of the fact that the reporter who asked that question from Wall Street Journal, the lady, has been brutally trolled by people across the globe and largely from India, and here also through by the Indian Americans. So that has sort of vitiated a bit of a atmosphere over here in terms of thing. Although the seasoned players are not giving it much credence, but there is a slight amount of misgiving. I wouldn't say misgiving, but there is a slight amount of a bad taste, that a kind of an issue that has happened. So I leave these things aside, but let me now highlight some of the points that we have picked up from our discussions with the State Department. Uh, they highlight to the growing close defense cooperation and shared strategic objectives. On G414 engines is a major landmark move. State Department is getting ready the notification to the both houses of Congress, which should go by the end of this week. By forwarding this notification to the Congress, the formal process of providing India the transfer of technology to will have commenced. But I like to caution the people who are watching this show. This is just the first step. It will go through a huge amount of scrutiny both at the Congress and at the State Department. The State Department is known for its ITAR related objections, observations. There are also questions will be raised. What is United States getting out of it? They're getting the numbers ready. The numbers are being talked about is $1 to $2 billion for the for United States in terms of investment gains, etc. But the fact of the matter is that it's what the process is not going to be easy. It will be time consuming. To give you an example, on the AUKUS, the Australians have a six-member team working round the clock over here, and for last 2 years they are still struggling with the right amount of clearances. General Huja, who is on the panel, would further clarify on this issue and what are the issues involved. So people should not feel that it's suddenly everything gonna work and fall into place. The due process of legislative process will need to have to be gone through. The second important issue is that on the issue of critical technologies, and I'll give an example of Micron. Micron has decided to invest in India. So the fact that Micron has decided to invest in India is a very important message globally. So what that happens is that India will become a part of the global semiconductor supply chain. Although the facility is basically being set up to packaging of the microchips in India, uh, for which Micron is going to invest close to about $865 million, and balance of the 2.5 will be coming from India. The important part over here is not so much that the deal has been handled. The how we manage the deal is going to be an important issue, purely because in terms of supply of electricity, supply of water of certain levels, etc., certain standards to be met, those will become a critical aspect as we go along. So the point is that in every area, similarly Oran, uh, so it's a it's an important development because it integrates multiple networks. Now, Oran initiative is a very good initiative. It will allow us to reach the smallest of village in our country. But again, regulatory mechanism, the whole issue of clearances, etc., would have to be gone through to make it fructify. And I'm saying this because what happens is that once the deal is stuck, there is a belief that it'll start functional tomorrow. But there are large number of interagencies issues that are needs to be resolved. The difference this time from the last time is this, or other times that we have handled these deals, is that there is a central authority on both sides which are managing and overseeing the deal. The credit for ensuring that we have gone through such an expansive technological and economic engagement package with the United States is being given to the selfless role played by both the National Security Advisor, Ambassador Doval, Mr. Doval, and the American NSA, Jake Sullivan. They have worked hard to get people on board, define the parameters, integrate industry, integrated academia, and integrate startups to ensure that the deal is put through. Another element is this thing is, and yesterday we were pleasantly told by senior economists who's on the White House advisory board, is that India matters economically to United States. Now, this is the message that is coming out. India matters economically to the United States. You are also aware of the fact that the 6 WTO disputes have been resolved, and and 3 from our side, 3 from the other side. But there is an interesting facet that we were told, and that facet is particularly economically oriented people. Is the United States doesn't have much interest in WTO, so to them WTO is some kind of a dumb deal. So it's nothing economic, and the reason that so this gesture of resolution of WTO dispute is not to be seen as too much of a investment in India. It is basically a part of an effort, because it means nothing to them. They say, okay, why hang on to this issue which can become unnecessarily problematic. The next issue is that in our strategic discourse that we went through, the State Department was very keen to understand after the deal what will be India-Russia defense relationship would be like. So it was clarified to them that the Russia-India relationship, like indeed the Russia-United States relationship, is two different baskets. As far as Russia is concerned, we have a platform-centric relationship with Russia, and that large number of our major platforms are from the Russian origin. Although we have done a fair amount of Indianizing of those, but the basic hulls, the basic framework remains Russian. So, to that extent, in management of our existing fleets, both air, navy, and army fleets, there would be a dependence on Russia. So, and second thing is, we also told them is that we do not want to enter into a situation where that I mean, we are just about coming out of our total dependence on Russia to get another new dependency on United States. The second part, which we is also important to understand, is that the kind of systems that we are getting from United States is our high technology system, which are attuned to our modern requirement of warfare. Now, an interesting point came up was that of sharing of intelligence. Now, we only look at the fact is that we are getting a satellite picture, and that satellite picture is coming to us, and that's okay. But what is important is that the Americans have developed softwares which integrates multiple sensors to provide a composite satellite picture. It was categorically told to us that United States will not part with that software for India. It is not capable of parting, nor will it part. But what the Americans are trying to do is help India under the ICET develop softwares which integrates all our various sensors and helps us in developing a comprehensive ISR capability to deal with our requirements. This is something what is that is being they're planned by them. Another issue is beyond G414. we were told that there will be some more announcements, particularly in the naval and army domain, which would be announced 3 months down the line, or in September, when President Biden comes to India. And that is also will be the period of the first review of as to how we have sort of moved forward in various directions. Uh, and two, we have one of the issues that we have always raised with the Americans is that the when we talk about the Indo-Pacific, we have to talk about the Indo-Pacific as a composite whole. So, what is the narrative which is being worked on right now is that the Pacific, Western Pacific, and the East Asian part of or what I will call the eastern end of the Indo-Pacific is being developed into a very strong composite security structure based on bilateral, trilaterals, of which Australian AUKUS is one part of the program. Then the Australia, Japan, US dialogue. Then there is a dialogue between Japan, Korea, and United States dialogue. And now the new element of this dialogue is the Philippines, who have also been integrated. So strong, structural, integrated, interoperable, sustainable structure is being created in the East. There is no such thing in the Indian Ocean. Although the statements talks about, as like did the statement of the Quad statement of the leaders conference, talked about that they are going to integrate IORA, Indo-Pacific Oceans Initiative, as well as ASEAN into one integrated this thing. But this is only a talk. So to delve deeper into this issue, to define workable structures and issues, there is going to be an element called the Indian Ocean Dialogue, which Indian Ocean Dialogue is planned sometime during this year. And there is also Americans are thinking about. I mean, this is speculative, but that's what we have been told by people who know things, is that they are thinking about reorientation of Pacific and the central commands to create a one whole command that includes so that the bifurcation lines, which are imaginary lines between the command boundaries, are resolved. So this is an issue that which we also were told. Uh, we have to also on the geopolitical framework, we also have to understand that the perception and the narratives which we read in our part of the world of America being overextended, America geopolitically sidelined, etc., are not within the mindset of the leaders or their advisors in this country at this point in time. There's a there is a huge amount of self confidence, or at least of a bravado that they are handling things right. And this whole issue of a dual containment strategy of containing China and Russia having becoming a millstone around the neck is not easily shared. Although the people who understand, they aware of it, are conscious that it could become an issue. So I think I've covered a fair amount of issues. If there are any more questions to be asked, I'm certainly up to some. And this is a broad perception that I have sitting over here over the last 2 days of my visit. And this morning we are going to meet Mr. Kurt Campbell, who's known as the Indo-Pacific Czar, and we will get some more inputs.
Also,
Thank
I
you.
think thank you very much, sir. It was wonderful. You gave us a tremendous insight into the inner workings of this relationship, how these deals almost came about, and the problems. You touched about the problems. I was going to ask you that what were the difficult topics on the table and how were both sides able to navigate these, and you covered it beautifully when you talked about the simmering narrative which exists, as well as the point of where Indo-Russian relations going to go in future with the amount of technology being provided. I think that's wonderful, sir. And before we go on to the next speaker, the only question I want to ask you is, sir, do you think US suffers from some illusion that India is going to be part of an alliance with them, or are they accepting the fact that we're not going to be part of an alliance and only going to be part of some sort of partnership with them, sir? What is your views on that, sir? Because people have been talking of NATO plus, sir.
Okay, no, no, there is no NATO plus on the card. But what basically uh, uh, the United States attempt is to integrate India so closely in multiple domains, strategic, economic, technological domains, that it becomes an almost an alliance partner, or like they say para 4 of the NATO, where you will be consulted, but this, I mean, your war is not their war, kind of a scenario, but you are para 4 of NATO, kind of an alliance will. So basically, there are no illusions that India will be this thing, but the a strong India, credible India, capable India, which stands up to China and provides a degree of strategic balancing in Indo-Pacific, particularly in Southeast Asia, is just about what they want for the time being. And as India's uh, economy grows, we become from fourth to third largest economy, and then hopefully the second largest economy not too much years later. And the fructification of these programs, which incidentally I must highlight, are all 10 to 15 years down the line. We should not have illusions on that. Except for G414, with the first engine will come out from India in 3 years' time. But here again, we are 90 engines are on order, and they will cater for the first uh, lot of the Tejas Mark II aircraft. So there is nothing that would be found wanting. So there is a plenty of time with us to navigate the bureaucracy and get the systems working in our favor. We have to ensure on our part that we provide the same degree of coherence and interagency cooperation that has been tried to be put together over here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. May